Did you know that right now, just over 3 trillion trees are growing on our planet, covering 31% of the world's land surface? Every year, over 15 billion of those trees are lost to natural disasters. At this rate, Earth's last tree will fall in roughly 200 years. Hey viewers, welcome back to Curiosity. Imagine if there were no more trees in the world. No more shady, leafy canopies. No more scented pine needles on the ground. No more flowering magnolias or cherry blossoms. The world would seem naked without trees. But their loss would be felt far beyond this. Trees affect everything from the air we breathe to the rain that falls from the sky. Without them, we die, and so does our planet. In today's video, we will talk about what would happen if all the world's trees disappeared. From climate change, economic loss, health problems to excessive carbon dioxide. Watch till the end to learn about all of them. Number 1. Lack of oxygen. Oxygen makes up roughly 21% of the Earth's atmosphere. What you might be surprised to find out, however, is that only half of this oxygen is produced through photosynthesis in trees and other plants on land. The other half is produced in oceans by microscopic marine organisms called phytoplankton. The environment would not be completely lacking in oxygen if all trees were lost, but the oxygen level would be lower. The big question is whether or not humans would survive. In 1 year, a mature leafy tree produces enough oxygen for 10 people. If phytoplankton provides us with half of our required oxygen, at current population levels, we could survive on Earth for at least 4,000 years before the oxygen ran empty. However, that's not considering a number of other factors. Increasing population size, for example, would reduce the amount of oxygen available, but phytoplankton blooms due to an increase in carbon dioxide, which could increase oxygen levels. How long can you hold your breath? Tell us quickly down below in the comment section. Number 2. Major climate change. A loss of trees would throw the climate off kilter. The planet's climate would be drastically altered. Trees mediate the water cycle by acting as biological pumps. They suck water from the soil and deposit it into the atmosphere by transforming it from liquid to vapor. By doing this, forests contribute to cloud formation and precipitation. Trees also prevent flooding by trapping water rather than letting it rush into lakes and rivers. This saves coastal communities from storms. Trees keep soil in place that would otherwise wash away in the rain. Their root structures help microbes thrive. Without trees, forested areas would dry out, leaving them more prone to extreme droughts. When rain does come, flooding would be disastrous. Massive erosion would impact oceans, smothering coral reefs and other marine habitats. Islands stripped of trees would lose their barriers to the ocean, and many would be washed away. Removing trees means losing huge amounts of land to the ocean. In addition to mediating the water cycle, trees have a cooling effect. They provide shade that maintains soil temperatures. As the darkest things in the landscape, they absorb heat rather than reflect it. They also channel energy from solar radiation and convert liquid water into vapor. With all of those cooling services lost, most places where trees once stood would immediately become warmer. A study found that the complete removal of a 25 square kilometer patch of forest caused annual temperatures to increase by at least 2 degrees Celsius in tropical areas and 1 degree in cooler regions. Number 3. Huge economic loss. As we now know, without trees, Earth's temperature would become very high. Humanity's suffering will begin well before catastrophic global warming takes place, however. The increased heat, disruption to the water cycle, and loss of shade would take a deadly toll on billions of people, as well as our livestock. Poverty and death would also descend on many of the 1.6 billion people who currently rely directly on forests for their livelihoods, especially for harvesting food and medicine. More people would find themselves unable to cook or heat their homes, given the lack of firewood. Around the world, those whose work revolves around trees, whether as loggers or papermakers, fruit growers or carpenters would suddenly be jobless, devastating the global economy. The timber sector alone provides employment to 13.2 million people and generates $600 billion each year. Agricultural systems would also go under. Shade crops like coffee would drastically decline. Due to temperature and precipitation fluctuations, places that formerly produced crops would suddenly fail, while others that were previously unsuitable might become desirable. Over time, though, soil everywhere would become depleted, requiring significant amounts of fertilizer for crops to survive. Further heating would eventually make most places uninhabitable. Interested yet? Make sure you join our growing number of followers and hit that subscribe button for all our great curiosity content. Number 4. Major health problems. Trees clean the air by absorbing pollutants and trapping matter on their leaves, branches, and trunks. Researchers have found that trees in the US alone remove 17.4 million tons of air pollution each year, a service valued at $6.8 billion. We might also see outbreaks of rare or novel diseases transferred from species that we normally do not come into contact with. Ebola outbreaks usually occur in hotspots of forest fragmentation. A sudden loss of forests everywhere could trigger a temporary spike in our exposure to zoonotic infections such as Ebola and West Nile virus. It will also increase our exposure to mosquito-borne diseases like malaria and dengue fever. A growing body of research also points to the fact that trees and nature are good for our mental well-being. Researchers recommend walking in forests to boost our overall health. This includes reducing stress, increasing energy levels, and improving sleep. Trees also seem to help the body recover. A famous study revealed that patients recuperating from surgery experienced shorter hospital stays if they had a green view, rather than a brick wall. More recent studies revealed that spending time around grass and trees reduced symptoms in children with ADHD. There's also a positive correlation between green space and kids' performance at school. Trees may even help to combat crime. One American study found that a 10% increase in trees was associated with a 12% reduction in crime in Baltimore, Maryland. How crazy is that? Number 5. Excessive carbon dioxide. If we were armed with pollution masks, would the climate and temperature still be suitable for us? One important consideration is carbon dioxide. In 1 year, an acre of mature trees soaks up the same amount of carbon dioxide we produce from driving a car 26,000 miles. Since human activities like this increase the normal level of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, cutting down trees would tip the scale even further. This would release an enormous amount of carbon dioxide. Deforestation is already responsible for up to 15% of global greenhouse gas emissions. And you might think that an overwhelming increase in carbon dioxide would result in a much warmer planet. On a global scale, trees combat warming caused by climate change by storing carbon in their trunks and removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. Deforestation already accounts for 13% of total global carbon emissions, while land use in general accounts for 23% of emissions. Large amounts of carbon would run into the oceans, causing extreme acidification and killing possibly everything but jellyfish. Over time, we would see the release of 450 gigatons of carbon into the atmosphere. This is more than double the amount that humans have already contributed. For a while, this effect would be offset by smaller plants and grass. But while smaller plants capture carbon at a faster rate than trees, they also release it more rapidly. Eventually, over the next few decades, these plants would no longer be able to resist the increasingly warm temperatures. As decomposition slowly detonates this ticking carbon bomb, the Earth would transform into a vastly warmer planet, the likes of which we haven't experienced since before trees evolved. Number 6. Rain check. If you often get caught in the rain without an umbrella, this next consequence might seem appealing at first. This is because removing trees can reduce the amount of rain. The land would quickly dry out as less moisture is returned to the atmosphere, a crucial role of trees in the water cycle. A study found that by 2050, destruction of tropical rainforests would reduce rain across the Amazon basin by up to 21% in the dry season. It could also drive significant and widespread shifts in rainfall distribution. This will affect agriculture around the world. Without trees, we would not only live in a world of widespread drought, but we would likely be exposed to more frequent extreme weather events. When it finally does rain, many communities would experience flooding, as there are no trees to act as buffers and reduce the water. The Earth is a marvelous planet and has a lot of interesting things on it. There is so much to learn about how our planet works. Let's keep the conversation going with a couple more videos, shall we? Here's what you need to know. The Mariana Trench. What would you find on a trip to the deepest place on Earth? Or how about we switch gears? Check out 20 hidden secrets and urban legends about Disneyland. What's the biggest forest you've ever visited? Let us know in the comments section below.